Hey everybody, welcome to EduMatch. Thank you so much for joining us. So tonight we have a very special panel, all in EDU. So I'm super excited about this. As you can probably see, if you look at the bottom of the screen, we have a full house tonight. So very, very excited by that. So we're gonna let the panelists from my right to left, which is your left to right. We'll start things off with Roman.
Hello, everyone. Roman Novak. I am a high school ELA teacher, now in education for 15 years. I'm out in Ottawa, Ontario, so in Canada. And I classify myself as a student success leader, agent of transformation, and glad to be back in the classroom after having left for a leadership role for a couple of years. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're super excited to have you here on panel. So thank you so much for joining us. All right, handsome Rochelle.
All right, so I'm Rochelle Poth. I teach foreign languages and STEAM in a Pittsburgh school, actually probably 25 minutes from Pittsburgh. Been teaching for, I think, 23 years now, and I'm excited to be part of this awesome panel discussion tonight, especially with some friends who are writing, and I'm not going to do any spoilers, but anyway, looking forward to the conversation.
All right, awesome. Welcome back. Great to see you as always. And also returning, we also have Rachel. So welcome back, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I am Rachel Mann, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm the founder of Teach Like TED and author of The Martians in Your Classroom. So I speak and write about the future of work and what it means for education.
All right, wonderful. Super excited to have you back. So thank you for joining us again. All right, and new to panel, we have Michael.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Michael Abramchek. I'm a STEM lab facilitator at Simmons Middle School in Oak Lawn, which is just outside of Chicago. I always tell people I have the best job because we get to do education differently every single day. We get to let people pursue their passions. So I'm excited to discuss going all in tonight with all of you.
That is awesome. Well, we are super excited to have you here. So thank you so much for joining us, Michael, and welcome. All right, also welcoming for the first time, we have Maureen. Welcome, Maureen, please.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Maureen Hayes. I am a language arts supervisor in Lawrence Township, New Jersey, and I have a passion for literacy and early childhood education and just acquisition of literacy skills and getting books into kids' hands.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Maureen. So glad to have you here. All right, we're going to skip over Kristen for the time being. We're going to come back to her and to JC in just a moment as we have the moderators introduce themselves. But next up, we have John. So welcome, John.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? My name is John Martinez. This is my 25th year in public education and presently an elementary principal in the Los Angeles area. Glad to be here.
Awesome. We are so glad to have you here. And I'm an avid listener to your podcast, so welcome. So great to have you on here. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, next up we have Jay. Welcome, Jay.
Hi everyone. I'm Jay Billy. I'm the proud principal at Ben Franklin Elementary School here in Lawrence Township, New Jersey, and the author of Lead with Culture. And I'm very proud and happy to be here, and nice to see you again, Sarah.
Nice to see you too. It's always great seeing you, Jay. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. All right, awesome, awesome. We're going to skip over JC for the time being. We're going to come back to you in just a second. Next up, we have Desiree, a familiar face. So welcome back to the panel, Desiree.
Hello, I'm happy to be on this full panel tonight. I am Desiree Alexander. I am the founder, CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting and the regional director of North Louisiana for a nonprofit called APAL.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Desiree. Great to see you here. All right, fantastic. And last and not least on the panel, we have Bethany. Welcome, Bethany.
Hey, friends. I'm Bethany Hill from Arkansas, and I'm an elementary lead learner at Central Elementary. It's a P4 school. I've been doing that for 5 years, been in education for 21. And I'm a little starstruck right now. This is so exciting to be with all of you. Thank you for having me on this evening.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And yes, I'm sure I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure speaking for everybody else, the feeling is also mutual. So thank you for being here. Great to have you. All right. So now I'm going to turn it over to our amazing moderators. So we have Kristen and we have JC. So if y'all can please introduce yourselves and then feel free to take it away.
Kristen, you want to go ahead?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Kristen Mann. I'm a third grade teacher. I actually started off in learning support, third and fourth grade learning support. That was 22 years ago. I am now a third grade teacher and have been for the last 20 years, just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at Hopewell Area School District.
And I am lucky to work with Kristen. I am JC Maslick. I'm the assistant superintendent in the Hopewell Area School District. Passionate about STEAM and maker learning, and excited to be with so many of you tonight as we talk a little bit about the importance of the relationships between teachers and school leaders. And we're putting a little twist on things tonight with a little bit of a Vegas theme. You'll notice the hashtag was all in EDU. So all in, right? If you're doing that bet, you got to put all your chips in when you really want to take that gamble. And so we're going to kick it off with our first question. When administrators get out of the office and mingle with the players, out on the casino floor, they can build strong relationships. So I would ask our leaders, what leadership habits have you all developed to really ensure that you're getting out to mingle? Maybe it's something you've developed, maybe it's something you've observed in others. And then our teachers, how is that received by you when your leaders are out there and mingling with the players?
I guess I can kick it off. So at the teacher level, I think it's something that we really love to see. And unfortunately, the way the system works, we don't see it as much as we'd want to. And I'm going to talk from a high school's perspective. Anytime you can have a school leader or any leader of any system level come in and observe or participate, and it's not part of a formal evaluation or observation process, that just becomes so critical in building that relationship and seeing the principal or the lead learner as a collaborator and as someone who's there to push education and learning instead of just there to supervise. So we want it to happen more, and then it becomes sort of less official. We just know that in the system constraints, it doesn't always happen that way.
I'll chime in now. I'm an elementary principal, and I've been in that position for 5 years now. And my goal to be visible is always there. And actually, we ran out of space in our office. There was just too much stuff and too many people in there. And so actually gave my office up a couple of years ago. And I don't really have a place to land other than, I have a little desk and a phone in the office, but not really a space. So I take a backpack and put my laptop in there and take my phone, usually take notes or whatever with me. If I have to work on managerial type things, I just take that with me and try to be out and about and work I can work in a classroom, and some days I choose to be completely present and may not be working on anything, just looking at the learning and seeing what's going on around the classroom. But then other days, if I have to get some of those desk things done, then I can still be in the cafeteria or in a classroom in the corner sitting down working on those things. And still be visible, but sometimes not quite as tuned into what's going on around me. But it's a way to help me balance. So my school family has really gotten used to that, and they know they're not going to find me in the office. They have to send me a text or have me paged on my walkie-talkie, and I'll come to them. But so that took a little bit of time to get used to, but now that's part of the culture. I think it's appreciated in our school.
I think that's such a great example of being all in, right? Getting rid of your desk, getting rid of your office, and just going for it. Thank you for sharing that, Bethany.
You mind if I jump in here?
Please.
Go ahead, Jay.
No, go ahead, John. John, you're in.
All right, thanks. So I love that idea of Bethany. It's like principal on the go. I love that. Mm-hmm. So, for me, as much as I can, how do I get out of the office, right? And so what I really aspire to do, and I do a terrible job some days and an okay job on others, is getting out to the campus before school, during school, and connect with teachers and staff, not about what's happening in the day, not about the job, not about the lesson, but just checking in with them. And so that's a struggle, because I know if I can do it more often, it'll pay off and it'll build that relationship. It's easy to fall into the rabbit hole of stuff to do, though.
It's true. That's true. Can I jump in now, John?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I make it a point to try to get into the classrooms at least once, hopefully sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, even if it's just for 30 seconds to check in with the teachers and check in. I want them to see me. I want the kids to see me. If a principal or an administrator it's a surprise when they stop in, then they're not really doing what they should be doing. So I want to be knee deep in kids all day, and it's fun, and so at that is why sometimes, like this morning, I was typing observations, because the paperwork is still going to be there, but the 8:30 and 3:30. I want to be out and about and have people see me. Now, sometimes, we get called out to go to district-wide meetings and all kinds of other silly stuff. But like I said, I try to make sure that I get out and see the teachers. And like Bethany said, I think they just get used to that after a while. That becomes the culture, and they expect it, and it's not a big deal. The first week or two at my new school, every time I'd open the door and they say, "Oh, do you need something?" I'd be like, "No, I'm just here." But now it just becomes, I'm just stopping in, and the kids don't stop working, and nothing changes. So I really feel like that if it's a surprise to see your administrator in the classroom, then you're on the wrong end of things. So that's kind of what I feel.
Yeah, I'd like to add in too. Actually, I work with Jay, so I can attest to definitely how visible he is, and all of the principals I work with. But I'm coming from the central office side of things, so I work across 5 buildings in my district, and my office is in the basement of a high school. So you'll find me never ever in my office. You can ask my office mates. I prefer to spend my morning whatever building my first appointments of the day begin, and I will start my day in that building, try to get there a little early just to be able to touch base with teachers. If they see my face in the morning, it's a good time to just ask and answer quick questions. And then just being there when kids arrive. I love to be there when the kids arrive in the morning, because again, being in a central office position, I don't have that connection with kids. So just always being in buildings, being in classrooms, and just being readily available for staff.
Can I add a little bit more on the teacher perspective? I know our building, our teachers are always eager to have our administrators in the building or in the classroom to come see what we're doing. I know in our lab, we're doing things differently. We always want to show off what the kids are discovering, what they're seeing. Our new superintendent has done a really good job of being present in the schools and in the classrooms, and kind of just making it more the norm, kind of like what you talked about, Jay. It shouldn't be the first time we see an administrator, shouldn't be for a formative or summative assessment or to find out we've done something wrong. If that's the case, it just completely interrupts the relationships that have the power to be built. The goal of the leadership should be to raise up additional leaders. And by coming into the classroom, they can be constantly giving feedback and helping the teachers kind of grow into the leaders that they desire them to be.
I'm loving this conversation tonight. This is absolutely amazing. Our book started with that one moment that JC stopped by my doorway, when she was taking the time to get to know each of us, not just as teachers, as individuals. When she stopped at my door and just said hello, I was so taken aback. I wasn't sure, like, did I do something wrong? Did she need me for something? I wasn't even sure what that kind of conversation looked like. And the take that each of you have on it, the spin that each of you have on this is just absolutely amazing. You are so right. And it's all about that opportunity. Are we ready to roll on to the next one? All right, let's do it. So we actually in our book, we're not doing chapters, we're doing bets. And so this is actually our fourth bet of the book, and it's rolling the dice. I'm quite the risk taker, and sometimes that can be like big time success and it can be epic failure. But rolling that dice is what I do. So how can leaders support us, the teachers, in taking those risks? Because that isn't something very easy for an educator to do. What could our administrators do for us? What do teachers need to actually be able to find that that support in the way that we take our instructional risks?
Well, I'll jump in. This is.
Go ahead. Oh, do you mind if I start?
Yeah, go right ahead. Jump in there.
I'm sorry. Oh, well, I mean, I guess first of all is showing that it's acceptable by taking risks yourselves as a leader. I think that's important. But like, and Maureen can tell you, first thing I do at new teacher orientation is I give them all a pass. Basically, it's just a big ticket that says 1 free pass, but it's laminated and you can use it over and over and over again if somebody comes in to observe you and it goes bad, you can give them this. So basically, that I want them to know that that's the district that we're in, and that's the kind of school that I want my students to do. So that's just a simple thing. And then the other piece is, when you see teachers taking risks, not only recognizing it, calling it out, shouting it out on Twitter or on social media, and calling it out at meetings. When we do our staff meetings, the first thing we do is get celebrations, and I always celebrate risk taking at the staff meeting. So I think that's a simple way to let people know that that's the culture you want to build.
I love it. Modeling it, that's key, and celebrating it. And the thing about it is we have this perception that every one of those risks needs to be a success, and it truly doesn't. It's the journey, it's the experience. Thank you, Jay. That's awesome. Anyone else?
Desiree, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, and when we're talking about taking risks and kind of creating that culture at your campus of risk taking, I think it's very, very key to have a growth mindset culture, and that is making sure that your teachers are not afraid to take risks, making sure that they're not afraid to fail, because I think that's key. Because I think some administrators have the lip service of, hey, no, try it out. But then if something goes wrong, we're going to blame you. And it's like, well, that's not true. I guess not a true risk-taking culture. So making sure that if your teachers do make a mistake or they do something and it fails, making sure that they understand that risk-taking is the only way that you can truly be innovative, and making sure that they understand that, okay, we failed in this, let's move on. How can we make it better? Like just having that supportive mindset and that supportive atmosphere, so they actually will not be afraid to take risks.
Absolutely. It's that second chance. I mean, I'm 46 years old. I need second, third, fourth chances all the time, not just at school, in my home life. We're so imperfect. I know I am. So it's that whole chance that we need to have. So it's the second chance, it's the third, it's for our students, it's for us. Absolutely. Desiree, you're spot on.
If I could chime in again, and I think the key word, and you said it earlier, Kristen, is support, and it comes with building relationships. So if a teacher wants to try something out, just sort of dive in and go for it. I'm lucky this year, we have a new principal, and I had some crazy ideas and I wanted to change my furniture and she's all in there with me. And I remember at one point I tweeted out, oh, I need to put in more time to reflect because I don't take the time. That's usually the first thing that goes out the window. Right. And I remember my principal tweets out at me, hey, how about we make a schedule and I'd love to reflect with you. And I think being there and to grow with the teachers who want to try different things and support them, I think that's key.
Nice. Absolutely. Oh, that's amazing that you have that with your admin. I think that that is so important too. And being able to not only say it, but sit down and actually do it. We can, I think Desiree may have said that lip service is there, and it can go from all angles, that we can do it as teachers to our students. But it's that eye to eye contact. It's that time that we take to just sit down, break bread with one another, and have that conversation about what went right, what went wrong, and what can we do next time, right? That's awesome. Thanks, Roman.
Rochelle, did you want to jump in?
I guess now I will. Yeah. It's always funny when I go after Desiree, because I always want to say, you know what? I don't have anything to add to what she did, because she's always like, I love her to death. She just comes right out with it. And then it makes me think of something else. But the one thing that I was thinking, as a classroom teacher, a lot of times conversations that I'm part of are with administrators or like leadership. And for a long time, I didn't think of myself as a leader. I just figured, I'm a classroom teacher. But even with students, we want our students to be leaders. And I think the important part of all of this that connects is like, it trickles down, obviously. So if our leaders, our administrators are not open to us taking risks, whether or not they go well or not, like you, I've made a ton of mistakes, and I'll take chances, and I'm like, okay, so totally should have thought that one out. But we want our students to do that. And so the only way that that can truly happen and we can provide that for them is if we're doing it, the administrators are doing it. And sometimes it doesn't go well. And you might hear like, oh yeah, what were you thinking? And you're like, I just thought it would work. But that's part of life. I mean, how many times throughout our lives, aside from what we do on a daily basis in our classrooms, have you made like epic, like huge mistakes, epic failures, and some maybe years ago that you're still processing, or they come back? But that's when like true learning happens, is when you think, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Whether or not you have a good laid plan or not, you just go for it. And if it goes well, okay. And if it doesn't, then like, what can you do with that information that's going to do something better for you and for those that you're working with? So that's all I was gonna add, but I still can't stop laughing about her lip service. So
so glad you added that, Rochelle. JC, you want to take the next bet?
Sorry, I was trying to tweet out something that Rochelle said. So bet number 11, and we're not going in order, but bet number 11 is about the penny jackpot. And sometimes when you take that risk for a change in education, sometimes it's a big hit. You take that change, you view it as an opportunity to hit the jackpot, and there are others who maybe view it as an opportunity to go bankrupt. So the question is, what examples can you share that really reflect your attitude towards change? And again, both from the administrator perspective and from our teacher perspectives.
All right, and then there was silence. Oh, go. Yeah. You want to go? Go for it. Go for it.
That's such a great question. And honestly, that one is the one that got my attention the most out of the questions. And I've been thinking about it all afternoon. Change is hard. And it's definitely something that we can't do to people. If people feel like it's being done to them, then it will fail for sure. And I think not knowing the purpose of a change, up front is a struggle too. And as I know, as administrators, things like that happen to us all the time from above us. And then we have to share with our teachers this expectation, and we're not even sure why we're being expected to change, because maybe it's not communicated to us well. So I think, what I have learned over the years is that I need to push back a little bit and ask, can you tell me why this is something that we're going to be doing? It's not that I don't believe in it. It's not that I don't want to do it, but I want to truly understand why, so I can communicate that to a staff who is going to be asking me, and I've kind of learned the hard way on that, just by saying, okay, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, and then going and delivering the information to staff. And then they ask me and I'm like, you know what? I really don't know, because they said so. and we can't be that way, because they're going to count on us to, as administrators, to support them and to feel. They want us to feel okay so they can feel okay. And so that's something that I had to learn early on as a brand new principal, was to really get a grasp on the why behind the change if it wasn't coming from me, and whether I believed in it or not, and sometimes when we don't believe in the change that's coming down, that's really tough because we may not have an option to implement whatever it is or to stop doing whatever we were doing. But it could be something that we don't believe in. And I'm still struggling with that, as a lead learner, even with mandates and things like that I know in my heart are not right. But how can we continue to meet compliance, but still try to do the best we can for kids? So constant battle, I guess.
Rochelle, did you want to jump in there?
Well, I was just doing the wait time, and when nobody else answered, I was going to do my normal, just chime in. But, and then Bethany did it right at that moment. I was like, okay, totally. No, but talking about change, there are a lot of times where, we've all had to go through some kind of a change, and you're just like, why do I have to do it? But I've really tried to be more intentional about not looking at the negative that I might perceive it to be in the beginning, but to look at it as a chance to do something different that might lead to something even better than what I've been doing, plus a different perspective. Now, that doesn't stop me from giving a little pushback, of course, just because that's kind of in my nature to do that. But you never know what's possible. And if you are so, if I decide, as a teacher, and for years I did this, I didn't try anything different, and I didn't change, and I was teaching the same thing over and over. And I think now, how many possibilities could I have brought to students or to even to myself professionally if I had done something different? So I think I can never answer just with one way, but I see it as both. You might hit the jackpot and it's awesome, but even if you totally go bankrupt, that's kind of still awesome too, because it gives you more to work with, to kind of plan for it and grow from, rather than just staying stagnant or doing the same thing that you've always done.
And I'm going to jump in after Rochelle that I think change is the only constant in education. If you haven't changed in a while, something is probably wrong. You probably should start questioning, what am I doing? Why have I not changed? So I think when you look at change, it should be expected. Now, it's not always positive. And like she was saying earlier, I completely agree that sometimes you don't know how to balance that advocacy and support as an administrator, because you have to be that advocate to fight for what's right, but you also have to be supportive of whatever situations you're thrown in and whatever decisions are made for you sometimes. And it is a balance, but it's one of those things when you're talking about how do you look at change, it's expected. You should know that change is coming. And like I said, if you're not changing, you should be asking yourself why.
Now I know what Rochelle was saying, because Desiree stole the words right out of my mouth. I'm like, change is the only constant. I'm like, that's what I was thinking. And I think if I'm going to ask my students to go through change and challenge them and have them feel that lack of stability, because we're always throwing different things at them, well, I need to feel that too, and I need to live that change. So that's how I try and keep it. And I think of my two daughters, and I'm like, what do I want for them? And so I keep changing things because I have them in my mindset for school and learning.
Can I throw one quick thing in?
Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. I feel like if we're expecting, this kind of goes back to question 3. If we're asking people to kind of step outside of their comfort zones, asking our students to do life differently and do education differently, then we need to be models of that. And with our lab, with what we did, we won an award last year. It was really awesome. Everybody was really happy, and everybody was proud of us. But at the end of the year, I just felt like there's so much more. We have so much ground uncovered and so many avenues that we haven't gone down. We need to kind of push all those chips in and say, what can we do differently? How can we try this out? And there's a lot of situations where things didn't go as planned. And we'd reflect and say, okay, what can we do differently? How can we, how can we regroup? Do we bite off more than we can chew? And we just got to stay with it. And, if we kind of rest on our laurels, or if we are complacent, that's when, the disconnect starts to happen, and that learning, that engagement kind of starts to wane. So we always have to be looking to see what we can do differently, how we can change the product we're offering our students. And then it's almost contagious because it goes from us over to our kids, and they're willing to try different, to take risks and to kind of gamble. And I really love what Rochelle said about, going bankrupt. There's such a great learning lesson connected with that. There's such a great opportunity to say, okay, well, now I can, kind of ties back to what Roman was saying, I can reflect on that loss. And then I can look at what I tried, and then guaranteed you're going to find 2 or 3 different ways that you could have done that same bet and played your hand differently. So I'm just so encouraged by this. This is awesome. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's wonderful. And I'm thinking back to when Bethany said, bringing it to your staff. I mean, that's what we, as teachers, we do with our students. It's a vibe. You're either bringing it and delivering it with encouragement and even some empathy and understanding of, listen, I know this will be different, putting yourself out there to be vulnerable and real with them. But when you do that, when you connect and you understand their story, I mean, Bethany nailed it. Ask them why. Ask them why. If you don't know why they're reluctant, if you don't know why they're not going to just pull that down one more time, pull that lever, right? I mean, it's you have to know why in order to be able to be there, cheering them on, giving them encouragement that they need. We have to be in each other's corner. We can't do without knowing why. Bring on the opportunity, right? Love it. You know what? Let's just go ahead into that last bet. It's actually bet 23 for us. And I'm thinking about the talk here that, we're presenting things to the teachers, we're presenting things to our students, and there has to be some pushback in here. So how do the players in the game, how do we as teachers, how do our students, how do we push back against our leaders and have that different view? How do we do that? And how do we respond to the challenge that gives us? And how are we expecting our admin to respond to that? Anyone want to take that?
Well, if I'll jump in if you want. Really quickly, I've been through this a couple times where I didn't necessarily agree, and like you say, we have to challenge the and Bethany said it too. To find out the why to the reason things are changing. I often, like I said, if I bring any changes into my school or my building, I always try to share the why, and I think that helps people to understand. I know even parents sometimes, when you're doing things differently in school, as Michael talked about, parents want to know, well, that's not the way it was for me. Why are we doing it this way? And if we can share that why, then oftentimes that helps. If I don't get that why when I challenge, then I become even more engaged in the fight to do the right thing. And I think that has happened a few times. Maureen knows me well, so she knows that I often will go to the next level to make sure that the right things are happening for the kids in my school and for the teachers in my school. But really, talking about the purpose and understand, what's the purpose? What is the purpose of this new initiative that we're doing, and what are we going to get from it? And once we have an understanding, it's easier to jump on board or tweak it to make it work for us.
So Jay, when your staff pushes back to you, how does that challenge feel as a leader?
Well, at first you become defensive, just because you have your reasons. But I've really learned to be reflective and take it back to going, okay, I didn't do a good enough job explaining that why. I didn't do a good enough job helping everybody to understand, and so then I have to start over again, and often do that. I think that's the thing. Like I said, I think when anybody has an idea, and somebody has a counter idea or something different, you become defensive at first. I think that's a natural reaction, but I've been able to really become more reflective and think, okay, what didn't I do to help them understand? And then by doing that, usually we're able to get to the next step to make progress on the real goal, which is, making our school the best school and the best place for our kids.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Maureen, go ahead.
It's okay. No, if I can chip in, and for me, it always comes back to what's best for kids. So if someone is pushing back or offering a counter idea, I try to look at it from that perspective of what is going to be best for the kids in our district and the kids that we serve. So sometimes for me, it might even mean taking a step back and rethinking the way I'm doing something. If someone does have a different idea or point something out to me that might not be in the best interest. So if it's taking that why, but taking it one step further to the kids and what's always going to be best for them.
I think the biggest thing, and I think JC and I have pushed each other so far in so many directions. I mean, it's been pushed forward, pushed back. And the one thing that has truly given us this journey has been that we do not personalize the questioning. And my big mantra is like, personalized learning, not behavior. When I question, it's not personal. It's not about, Dr. J.C. Maslick. It's not about Dr. Michelle Miller, my superintendent. There's a why there. There's a question being asked. And once things are personalized, we lose it. We lose everything. We lose the growth. We lose the learning. We lose the opportunity. It's no longer there. If we can just remove that, for every child that comes up and asks me why, if I take that personally as if I don't have my act together as a teacher, or if I'm not serving them well, what good am I doing in that classroom each and every day? And I need that from my admin, the same as I want to give it to every child. So this is one of those questions that I wrap my whole mind around all the time. Anyone else jumping in on that?
Yeah, can I jump in there? So on this idea of differing viewpoints and ideas, I actually invite that, because what I worry about is when there's too much silence, that means people, I wonder about the trust. So if I'm not doing a good job of building trust, people aren't going to want to ask questions or present a different viewpoint. And I think that holds everybody back. And so going back to our previous questions, if there's trust in the system, people will be more prone to take risks. They're going to be more prone to ask why we're doing a certain thing, or why do you believe that's the best course of action? Because what I know for sure for myself is I don't have enough brain power to get all the answers and all the questions that need to happen. So I need everybody in my building to be contributing to that.
And if I could add into that, I think it's important for any relationship. I mean, those discussions have to happen. We can't just sit there and shy away and, oh, do you know what? I don't believe in it, so I'm just going to not say anything. I think in a healthy culture and a healthy relationship, we're not afraid and we welcome. And it's not about attacking the person. It's about listening to understand. And once you have that, I think that's going to create the best school culture that we can have. But the worst thing that we can have is just being silent. We need to be able to have those discussions, have those courageous discussions, and move forward together and learn together.
I think John said, when there's silence, and that I think there's a saying something about when the best people become quiet, then you know that something's really wrong, in your system. You want your best people to have questions and, like you say, have those alternate viewpoints to really push you to be better. And we having so many brains in the room is so much better than just my one little brain. So that really is awesome.
And just to piggyback on what Jay said, I think that is the key difference between a leader and a manager, because I think a leader actually wants those people to speak up. They want their best people to stay involved. They don't want silence, where a manager may just want everyone to just be quiet and fall in line. So I think that's one of the main differences between a leader and a manager, is that a leader, and someone said earlier, and I was just like, yes, that you should want your people to become leaders. And, when I'm mentoring administrators, that's one of the things I tell them. If you are a true leader, you should expect your people to lead. You should expect your people to grow and become you and following your position, whether it be at your school when you retire or somewhere else. So, I mean, if you are really in it to grow the people around you, you don't want them to be silent. You want them to give their input and be part of the real team.
Well, and I think also you don't want them to be silent, because then as a leader, you're not growing either. You know, I know if I get a Vox from Kristen, you know, she hits me up with a side Vox and pushes something, and we go back and forth in a dialogue. I have to stop and go, you know what? I'm learning and growing as a leader, and I'm better because of that pushback and that discussion than if she had been silent. And I think it goes back to I think what John started talking about with the trust. I mean, you just have to build that foundation of trust so that you can have conversations that sometimes are difficult, and being able to reflect afterwards and know that you've grown and that you're better because of that.
And on the flip side of that, you know, when I think for so many years, I was just doing what I was doing out of professional compliance. Is that such a thing? But I felt like as a professional, if my administrator told me to do it, it was my job then to do it. And with what happened with JC was we were able to actually have a conversation. Words were going back and forth. There were times that we just didn't agree with each other's perspective, but it really didn't matter. It was appreciating the viewpoint, the angle that she was coming at. I never realized what had gone into the decision making that she was then trying to bring down, you know, through the system for all of us. And then when I would go to staff meetings and a decision was being made, I would have this moment of, okay, stop. There's no sense reacting. I mean, let's just take a minute and figure out, like, why is this happening? So that bond continued to build, and it was a trust. I mean, true relationships are a force to be reckoned with, and they don't happen overnight. And when I think about the powerhouse ways that we are changing education because we've taken time to listen to one another, it is just like, Michael, all chips are in completely. That was like my quote of the night, all chips in right there.
But I think what you said too is I mean, what everybody said, it's about the trust. You know, it's that, those relationships you build and building that trust. When as an administrator, when I get invited into conversations about teaching and learning, there's not whispering on the side, but but invited into real conversations. That's when I know that I've built that trust, you know, because teachers, they form their groups and they go in. But when I get invited in and ask my opinion and able to share my opinion, or they're asking questions about something I did, like I said, I'm comfortable with that. Like if my staff doesn't come to me if something's going wrong, that upsets me because that means I've lost their trust somewhere along the way. So like I get pushback all the time because I expect it, and I don't get upset about it. I don't, you know, but like I said, getting invited into those real conversations about teaching and learning, and taking it to that level that where it, as Maureen said, where it affects those kids and what's best for kids, then I know that we've built that trust. And like I said, it comes all down to that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to be the first one to say I feel so privileged to have had such an incredible conversation with all of you this evening. The perspective coming from so many different angles, I appreciate it. It truly has meant so much. When this book comes out and we are able to just pull it apart a little by little with each other, and we realize that it goes with those relationships, it goes with that risk taking, it's an exciting vibe because it's a great time to be in education. We are making so many incredible changes for children because we're building relationships from the bottom up. So I thank you so much. I know that the biggest thing of all is that mindset. And when we can flip that mindset and when we're in completely all in, great change can happen. Thank you so much.
I just want to echo that and say what a great collaborative group of educators, teachers, leaders, and it has been wonderful to hear everyone's perspective. So thank you for jumping in tonight.
And I definitely want to third that. You all have been amazing. So thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much, moderators. Oh my goodness, this has been such a fire episode. Wanted to thank everybody who is participating with us on YouTube Live. Such great conversation there as well. Oh my goodness. let me see, on Twitter as well. It's just been amazing convo. So can't wait to get this out as a podcast within the next few weeks, as well as a Facebook Live premiere, which will be coming up as well. So that's going to be awesome. Next week, we are going to chat with Brent Coley, and his book is actually going to be released tomorrow, or launched tomorrow. It's already been released, but Stories of Edu Influence. So the Kindle version will be released tomorrow. So huge shout out to Brent. He's amazing. Can't wait to see him at Q, and anybody else who's going to be at Q in the next few weeks. And yeah, so next week we will be chatting with Brent about Storytelling Part 2. He had a great conversation back in January, so Part 2 is coming up. And in addition to that, then we're going to have a special episode with him. So it's going to be a back-to-back Brent weekend next Sunday. So, all right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off for the evening. So everybody have a wonderful week. And yes, Desiree, hey.
What is the book, Kristen? What is the name of it? When does it come out? I'm like, I need to know more about this book. What's happening?
Okay, so let me just tell you that we don't have an official title yet. We have gone back and forth so many times because this theme is so much fun. There is so much risk taking. There are so many chances. We have changed from chapters to bets. We're looking for this summer to have this book out. But the refinement of the title is yet to be. So if you're getting a vibe and you want to send it our way, by all means, share. But we're definitely all in, at least with our hashtag.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be great. So definitely keep on the lookout for that. And Desiree, thank you for the nudge to share more about it. So awesomeness. So definitely wanted to thank everybody for your contributions today, and look forward to seeing you all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. So everyone have a great one.